Hey everybody! Welcome to Friday the 13th, the series. I'm your producer, Robert.
And I'm your host, Laura.
And after a complete, spoiler-filled recap of the episode, we are going to discuss the show you either just learned existed or always wondered how it existed. We promise the answers will be few and far between because we're just here to have some goofity fun exploring a show that, despite or possibly even because of its faults, isn't good and isn't so bad it's good, but is still somehow oddly charming. Let's dive in, shall we? That's right. Laura decided she actually wanted to come back for more. A big thank you to everyone who told me I chose wisely in asking her to host. Full disclosure, I concur. In a minute, she'll continue reading my summation of the episode, and we'll cut in to annotate my script on the fly. We'll also discuss our respective curios of the week, which will somehow lead to a sober discussion of growing up as a gay witch in Texas, and a full-throated endorsement of Dutch-style pancakes. Also, I'll dive into the filmographies of this episode's cast and crew, including that of a prolific actor who pops up in some truly unexpected places. I never saw episodes of Friday the 13th before this podcast, and don't research ahead. Laura saw a few episodes as a child, but her memories of them are vague. If this is your first time listening, more power to you, but I strongly suggest you go back to episode 19, part 1. And if you'd like to watch along with us, head to the Inner Demon Entertainment website where episodes 19 through 22 are currently available. I'll upload more as soon as I can, because once you hop on this wild roller coaster of a show, you won't want to get off.
Back from commercial break, Laura hides Ryan under the hay just in time to... Wait, hold on. So, funny story. It turns out we're not back from commercial break because we never went to commercial break. I was flat out wrong when I ended last episode that way, and I owe you an apology. Mi dispiace. In my defense, this scene offers not one, but two perfect cliffhanger moments, then just leaves money on the table, prodigally plowing on with the story.
Prodigally?
I've heard the word prodigal as in prodigal son, but I wasn't as familiar with the adverb.
Funny story. I've never written it that way.
Okay.
I wrote it fully expecting spell check to jump in and tell me that's not a real word, but apparently it is.
Prodigally plowing on with the story. First, there's the moment they're rushing to bury Ryan before Matthew shows up. Second is shortly after he arrives. When Matthew stabs the hay with a pitchfork to feed Laura's horse, she quickly interjects and leads him away, but he concludes by thrusting the pitchfork deep into the pile, whereupon a pool of crimson blood oozes forth. Commercial break? Damn it, no, that's why we're doing this. There's no break. It just really feels like there should be one. I admit I didn't notice it the first time, but remember our conversation on the topic of grave dirt? Specifically, the insane height to which it was piled? Well, to quote James Rolfe again, just to celebrate their failure, they doubled down with the pile of hay. This time cutting back and forth to a different angle that makes the change in quantity all the more obvious. Didn't you just say you didn't even notice on the first viewing? Yeah, but that's because I was distracted by all the other crazy. Instead of cutting to commercial, in defiance of God and country, the episode now cuts back and forth between Effie and Rebecca Lamb, Effie's new romantic rival, preparing for bed. In Effie's case, it involves retrieving the quilt from the false bottom of her footlocker. In Rebecca's, earnest prayers are delivered, asking that she not be killed tonight by a demonic duvet. Dang, so close. The important part is, in both cases, tree branches are tapping out a Morse code message of doom. Fun fact about Rebecca, her last name is Lamp with a P, when we all assume it would be Lamb with a B. Both are aptly metaphoric, but Lamb seems so obvious you can't believe the show isn't using it. IMDb agrees. The character is listed as Rebecca Lamb with a B, and by investigating this, I learned the episode's credits have an error regarding this name, but not the spelling. They switched the actor's name for the character's name. They're both correct, but in the wrong order. Weird that there would be errors about this name in both the credits and on IMDb. Back to the episode, our second dream sequence is upon us. And do these sequences seem a little... don't they kind of feel... This could be a porno, right? The answer is yes, but let's interrogate it. 2 ladies and 1 guy? Check. Production value trying to punch above its weight? Check. Amorous intent conveyed with coldly impersonal symbolism? Check. Cleavage? I mean, not a lot, but the quantity is skewed in its favor when contrasted against all the puritanical scenes. So, check. And mate, owing to the complete lack of dialogue. In fact, I think it's this last attribute all on its own that clinches it. But honorable mention goes to Nick Nightingale in a powdered wig playing a Baroque piano by candlelight. Rebecca must have really rubbed Effie the wrong way, because this time Effie does the deed herself, care of poison. Huh, kind of quotidian, isn't it? You're killing her in a fantasy probably the exact way you would in real life. It's like that episode of The Office in which Dwight plays the game Second Life, but as himself, working at a paper company, leading a perfect recreation of his real life. Except he can fly. In her defense, the workings of the quilt are mysterious. Maybe she doesn't get to pick. I suppose the quilt has to be able to reproduce the death in the real world, so maybe it's working with what it has available and can't fire Rebecca out of a cannon into a flaming T-Rex. Sure, let's go with that. And now, for reals, no foolin', Rebecca dies. Effie smiles and we fade to commercial break.
Nice. Can't believe you got through the flaming T-Rex sentence without having to stop and say, wait, that can't possibly be right.
It's like I'm just getting used to it.
Climbing into a jacuzzi, you've become acclimated. Actor Scott Powlin, who plays Reverend Grange, has not only been in a string of popular projects I can trace back through my entire life. In a real rarity for Friday the 13th series, he's also directed several notable television shows over the years, including Northern Exposure, Melrose Place, Picket Fences, Beverly Hills 90210, Dawson's Creek, and Early Edition. On the acting front, he portrayed astronaut Deke Slayton in the classic space race drama The Right Stuff. He was in Spielberg's Amazing Stories, the 80s Twilight Zone, 4 episodes of Saint Elsewhere, 3 episodes of Hill Street Blues, Moonlighting, Murder, She Wrote, the Tom Hanks dog comedy Turner and Hooch, Falcon Crest, Christian Slater's Pump Up the Volume. You're not going to believe this, but he played the Red Skull in 1990's Captain America. He was in Human Target, I'll Fly Away, Northern Exposure, LA Law, Beverly Hills 90210, Chicago Hope, Diagnosis Murder, Sean Penn's movie I Am Sam, Alias, The X-Files, 24, Jag, Lost, CSI, Boston Legal, which I also worked on, although almost certainly not the same episode, NCIS, Cold Case, House, Lie to Me, ER, NCIS Los Angeles, Longmire, and 9 episodes of Castle. Another show I worked on, although, again, probably not his episodes. In fact, regarding the 2 shows we both worked on, I was a background performer and was not used for either. The film I skipped over, and the reason I should have recognized this man, beard or no beard, is that Scott Powlin played Kirk Lawley, better known to you and me as the drama teacher in 1985's Teen Wolf. You might not think that's a role that would make much of an impression on a child when the movie stars Marty McFly as a werewolf, but it did. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go rewatch a film I haven't seen in almost 40 years.
Mickey must know Ryan well enough to suspect he'd make the same mistake twice, because she heads directly for the barn, or she's already exhausted every other option. We have no way to know. Inside, she makes a beeline for the hay and pulls out the pitchfork. So, has Ryan been pinned here this whole time? The pitchfork did pierce his forearm, but he's had ample time to remove it. And if Mickey realizes he's been pinned, she's pretty blasé about ripping out the pitchfork. I say if she realizes, because Ryan didn't even bother to call out to her. She only entered the barn because he grunted in pain when she called his name. Yeah, like I said last time, the preponderance of the evidence suggests this is all an overly elaborate sex game that has gotten out of hand.
I thought it was so weird when she calls out and they didn't bother to have him just yell off screen, "Hey, I'm over here, help me."
Matthew could have still been there, I guess. Maybe he just wanted to make absolute sure.
I'll accept that.
Mickey makes a cogent, multi-pronged argument for why Ryan needs to let Laura be, but Ryan insists that he's found his soulmate. It's alarming the degree to which this assertion bothers Mickey, and I feel I must now do something I was hoping I would never again have to do. Remind you all that these two are cousins. I made that comment last time. She is way too upset.
It only grows as the episode goes on.
it was the shot of Matthew jabbing the pitchfork that really set off my deja vu. I remembered that scene so vividly, and I love the way that they timed the incidental music, those stings of music. They timed it with his jabbing the pitchfork. That was a really nice detail.
This episode is nicely timed, in addition to all the production value on display.
A lot of times with this setup where someone is stabbing where you think the character is, a lot of times they'll do a cop-out. Oh, they were able to roll out of the way, or it missed completely. No, in this case, he is actually injured. That makes it really scary.
And they follow up on it. He has a Band-Aid on his arm for the rest of the episode.
I enjoyed your use of multi-pronged argument after Ryan has just been stabbed with a pitchfork.
Oh, you caught that. Nice. Do you think it was the pool of blood that made this so indelible? This was your Star Wars cantina scene?
Yes. Ooh, I remember that too, yeah.
You saw it as a kid, and that will stay with you.
But you know what? Great subtle acting on the part of Louise Roby. It's just a shame it was delivered in this context. And it's really a shame what she says next. Mickey and Ryan hear commotion outside and rush out to find the community in a tizzy over Rebecca Lamb's death. Quick tangent, a passing extra informs them Rebecca died in her sleep. How do you know that? Alarmed mystery man. Unlike Jane, Rebecca didn't even tumble out of bed. She essentially suffocated in an empty room. There's a real story here we're not getting about who came to visit the Reverend's new betrothed in the middle of the night. Also, terrible though the death is, why is the entire community running around like a barn is on fire? The other untold story that you all have some secret. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. It's a weird-ass line.
Sorry, I hear more traffic. I'm going to try that one more time, and after that, I'm moving on.
Oh, Laura's putting her foot down.
Is the other untold story that you all have some secret penitite-only operating theater you're rushing her to in an attempt to save her? Why are you all awake and about at this hour? Is this a murder on the Orient Express situation in which you were all secretly trysting with Rebecca? If not, between this late-night pandemonium and Laura and Matthew feeding her horse at all hours, maybe just go ahead and nudge your bedtime a little later. Yeah, I love the idea of going to bed at 7. I raise my hand to that.
His penitite lifestyle agrees with you?
Oh, very much. Oh, right. I was talking about Mickey. Upon learning of Rebecca's death, Mickey's exact response is,
Wasn't she engaged to Reverend Grange?
It's a perfectly cromulent delivery on Louise Roby's part, out of context. But good God, woman, that's your reaction to the death of the woman who made your dinner a few hours ago? A wonderful dinner, if Reverend Grange is to be believed. Brutal.
Yeah, sometimes on this show, they're just so indifferent to human suffering.
Right. And then I know that there's times where they've made a point about, oh, I can't go on and deal with this.
Yeah, there's always one random case that breaks them.
Right.
It's like that whole, I can kill 100 henchmen, but when it comes time to kill the bad guy, no, that's a line I cannot cross.
It happens quickly, but Ryan tries to exploit the opportunity to go check on Laura until Mickey reminds him they should go look for the quilt. Yeah, nice try, Ryan. Laura has bugger all to do with Rebecca, and you know it. Are we going to learn in the second part of this storyline that Laura secretly put a hex on Ryan? Because he's sure acting like she snapped a one-wish willow off screen. Nice reference.
Oh, thank you.
The next scene makes me wonder if this episode was directed by Ingmar Bergman, because it looks like the opening of every Scandinavian horror film. A bearded, black-clad, brim-hatted funeral procession with a Bible and wooden cross prominently displayed, set against a stark, all-white winter landscape. It's even lightly snowing. Real bummer it's Reverend Grange's betrothed that keep dying, as it falls on him to oversee their burial and speak to their demise. He gets a little fire and brimstone by the end of his lamentation to God, but keeps it together for the most part. I did want to say that was one thing that I enjoyed about this episode, how he gets increasingly questioning of God.
Yeah, he starts to get there.
It's a bit like his line earlier about how he doesn't begrudge a mother crooning a lullaby to her child. It's kind of like he's not willing to question what's going on. And I actually made a note of that quote. He's like, Lord, we're not questioning you. We're not denying your will, but why hast thou brought the seeds of evil among us?
But seriously, God, what the hell?
Yeah, he's like, what have I done to offend thee? Like, he's really starting to question it.
We don't want to question you, God, but get your head out of your ass. I've lost 3 wives or betrothed so far.
Yes. Mickey and Ryan piece together that the quilt is to blame, and there's a nice dichotomy in their detective work. Ryan assumes the killer must hate Reverend Grange, whereas Mickey correctly susses out that the killer actually loves him. Unfortunately, Ryan both hesitates, then stutters a little on one of his few lines in the middle of this very long, very impressive crane sequence that transitions to them from the funeral procession without cutting.
I know that was a long one. That was great. Sorry, as you were.
Given that both he and Mickey are dressed lighter than the Penatites, I wouldn't be surprised if the extreme cold was both to blame and one more reason they weren't about to do another take. Big surprise, Ryan volunteers to question Laura about who might love Reverend Grange, and Mickey prudently replies,
Ryan, you're not supposed to go near her.
I swear I wouldn't keep harping on Louis Roby's occasional accent, except this entire line sounds to me like someone else delivered it, and it doesn't even seem consistent with the pronunciation irregularity previously noted.
I just don't understand. Is it happening more in this episode, Laura?
I'm really curious to watch part 2 and see if this continues.
Excellent point.
Despite apologizing to Mickey earlier for jeopardizing the mission, Ryan the Lion just ignores her learned admonishment and saddles right up to Laura in full view of God and Penatite alike. Good Lord, man, are you touching her? Dude, do you have a death wish? Is this a classic example of suicide by Penatite? I'm compelled to interject here that I don't think I've ever seen a black funeral bonnet before. Neat. Hot topic? Think about it.
Have you, Laura?
Feel like a lot of these communities wear a lot of black to begin with, so it makes sense to me.
Oh, they do, but all the bonnets I can picture are stark white.
Maybe I've seen black bonnets before.
You're more worldly than I.
As a brown coat, whenever I hear the word bonnet, I think of the famous line, or by my pretty floral bonnet, I will end you.
What is that a reference to?
Firefly, Nathan Fillion's character's undercover as a demure bonneted woman.
Wow, I've seen the complete series. I don't know how I don't remember that part.
It's not a huge part. It's just one of those lines that kind of became a meme.
I was like, brown coats? I think those are Firefly. Is there also a brown coat in Doctor Who?
I'm not as intense of a brown coat as I am a Doctor Who fan. Laura reveals that a reverend's wife doesn't just wield the power that comes with that title. In the event of his death, she becomes the reverend. Wait, women can be reverends in this order, but only if they marry into it? Man, there is so much about Penatite culture I don't understand. Yeah, I just want to call bull feathers on that because there's no way that these communities give any power or authority to women.
Yeah, that seemed mighty suspect, and it kind of seemed like they were running when no one was chasing them.
Right.
Just being married to the Reverend, that's realistically probably the highest aspiration she could have, and it would be enough to get revenge on her enemies. So this extra little bit about becoming the Reverend seems like overkill.
I agree with that, and it seems like she really does have feelings for him as well, so they definitely have enough motivations for her actions at this point. They don't need to invent something that just stretches our...
Strains credulity.
Yes. Oh, and Ryan doesn't think Laura would understand if he tried to explain why he's asking about her father and Effie. Why not? Most people on this show accept the supernatural with shocking alacrity. Is it because she's a Penatite? Sarah Good is a Penatite, and she got on board even before she met you two. Then again, Sarah Good is just a different breed. I agree there. In a real jab cross of mixed messages, Laura espouses that God's love is what we mortals should really be striving for, then makes out with Ryan. So, is this a threesome, or is the Almighty sitting in the cuck chair? Oh, gosh. I'm proud to be the first person on this podcast to read the phrase cuck chair.
And it won't be the last.
No time for love, Ryan the Lion, who is summarily tackled by a vengeful Matthew, right on schedule. Laura's betrothed transitions seamlessly to full mount, and, wouldn't you know it, they landed within an arm's reach of the rock Cain used to brain Abel. It kinda stands out, as it somehow doesn't have any snow on it.
Might as well have been a bowling ball. It's so weird, too, because Ryan lands within feet of cracking his head against some massive pole.
Right.
You dodged that bullet, but you landed within arm's reach of this rock that's going to end up caving in your skull.
Well, Ryan, I bet you suddenly regret advocating for anti-assault rock legislation now. After all, the only thing that stops a Penatite with a rock is a good guy with a rock. Reverend Grange rides in on horseback to intervene, and rather nonchalantly informs Matthew he is not to commit murder. Yeah, Matthew gets that a lot. Okay, Friday, all the horse work is impressive, but this time you're just showing off. It's now apparent Director Timothy Bond said, "We rented horses, we're using horses." Ryan is informed that they shall settle this in the old way, with a cleansing. then immediately gets face to face with Laura to ask what a cleansing is. My guy, what part of stay away from her do you not understand?
Like a moth to a flame.
I love that he just grabs her and kisses her, like, out in broad daylight in front of everyone. Like, what the actual...
He's basically Homer destroying the Stonecutter's scroll.
Right.
I've learned my lesson. I've learned my lesson.
There's such whiplash, such a conservative society, but they're open, and then they're strict, and then they're forgiving, and then it's just, oh.
And then it's a battle royale.
But then someone can also be knocked outside of the ring, which is not into the fire. I know we're going to get to that. I don't know if we've already gone past the dinner scene where Reverend Grange uses the phrase knives and spoons.
Please, everyone, put down your knives and spoons.
That's the one. You don't have to use this comment, but if it inserts well.
Should it please the court?
Yeah, should it please the court? I thought that was such an odd line because I feel like traditionally you hear people talk about knives and forks, right? It's almost as if the actor hesitates, like he almost stumbles over that line because it's kind of awkward.
Because he expects to say forks?
Exactly.
Should I ask the production? No, we don't have time. Moving along.
I mean, there's no horses in this shot, or there's no crane set up, so they could have retaken it.
Well, it is a big dinner scene with a lot of extras, and those can be difficult to shoot as well. So again, probably going one take on this one.
Maybe the Canadians just haven't played Knifey Spoony before.
Some shows have a monster of the week. This series has a curio of the week, and so do we. Laura, what is your curio of the week?
My curio of the week is the Serpent's Key, which is an occult shop located in Hanover, Pennsylvania. I chose this particular shop for a very specific reason. The owner of the shop, Beck Ravenswood, is currently embroiled in a legal battle with the state of Pennsylvania to get an antiquated anti-fortune-telling law repealed. This actually all started back in 2023. I'm not going to go over the whole story. If you're interested, you can definitely find her on social media. Her personal Instagram account is under The Stitching Witch, appropriate for an episode about a haunted quilt.
How apt.
And then you can also follow the Serpent's Key shop. But back in 2023, she received a less than friendly visit from the sheriff of their town, who basically threatened her to warn her it was illegal to read tarot cards and do fortune telling for money. I believe the way the law phrases it is for gain or lucre.
Yes, Luger, of course.
Yes. It was kind of like a friendly visit from the mafia.
Sure, some real nice Luger you got around here. Be a real shame if something were to happen to it.
Exactly. She clearly knew that this was not right and reached out to a lawyer who filed a court case against the state of Pennsylvania to get this law repealed. I believe it was from 1861.
Maybe one of those laws we should finally clean up.
Right, like those classic American laws, like it's illegal to wear a fake mustache in church that causes laughter.
No diapers on your horse.
Exactly. The latest news in the case is that the state of Pennsylvania's request to have the case dismissed has been denied and a date has been set for July 22nd. So they are going to court fighting for the rights of occult shops and practitioners everywhere to have equal access and equal protections under the law.
Have you emailed with her or contacted her through social media?
No, I haven't corresponded with her personally. I heard an interview with her on a podcast that I listened to.
Oh, which one's that?
It's called Southern Bramble, a podcast of crooked ways.
Let's make this a twofer.
There you go.
It's two curios in one.
The name comes from the social media handles of the two hosts. It's hosted by Marshall, who goes by the Witch of Southern Light on Instagram. And then the other host is Austin, whose Instagram handle is Baynex Bramble. So together they form the Southern Bramble podcast. It's an excellent podcast. Sometimes they just talk amongst themselves about various topics. Sometimes they have guests on. They really go into detail about the initial interaction that they had with law enforcement. As they describe it, they were either two law enforcement officers or they had the cutest matching outfits ever.
Zing.
Hopefully we'll find out more after July 22nd. Marshall is not just a podcaster, but also an author. He's written 3 incredibly good books. He's very big into traditional witchcraft, very inspired by Gemma Gary. His recent book is called Diary of an American Witch, where he kept a personal diary for 13 months.
clever.
It's a really powerful read. It's very personal. A lot of the stories in the diary are sad. He ruminates a lot on his earlier experiences in life growing up as a
Which?
as a homosexual in Texas. I was trying to think of a different way to say that.
You're trying to figure out a more offensive way to phrase that? Bullet dodged.
Really highlights the struggles of growing up gay in a state like Texas and a lot of the experiences that the rest of us take for granted. Things like our first crush and asking someone to the school dance, things that we kind of take for granted as easy. He very much struggled with and received a lot of backlash and trauma from his school and from his community. I recommend his books to everyone. The first one was called Cunning Words. Second book is called The Red Mother, and they're folk tales in the style of traditional witchcraft.
Does Austin have an equally compelling story?
His practice is more Christianity-based,
Ooh, interesting dynamic duo.
very much involving the saints in his spell work.
That's what I look for in my occult podcasts, fair and balanced.
That's really the beauty of the world of the occult. Everyone's practice is different. Everyone's beliefs are different. And yet we all pretty much get along.
I'm glad you're not hurling spells at each other.
No.
Well, you heard it here first, people. The occult. It's a big tent party.
It was a toss-up this week for my curio between this store and the Green Man store in Burbank, which is where they filmed Obsession.
Here we go. Third curio.
I think they've gotten enough publicity off of that.
You are just the gift that keeps on giving here, Laura.
Why, thank you.
My curio of the week is the Panakuchen Hoose in Plymouth, Minnesota. Didn't I already do that as a curio? No. My previous curio was the Panakuchen Hoose in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. I warned you it was the last of a dying empire, and a year or so ago, I'm afraid its final ember burned out. But Panakuchen Hoose has risen like the phoenix and is somehow better than ever. Like Red said in The Shawshank Redemption, I have no idea to this day why Latouf's Pizzeria decided to offer breakfast, and, more specifically, to team up with Panakuchen Hoose to do so. And truth is, I don't want to know. Some things are best left unsaid. But they're all here. Baked apple, Metwurst and Gouda, bananas Foster, and so much more. So come visit Latouf's Pizzeria while you can at 10820 Highway 55, Plymouth, Minnesota 55441. For reference, that's only about 15 minutes from downtown Minneapolis and 25 from the Mall of America and the airport. For the love of God, don't wait. Go to Minnesota if you live out of state. Food influencers, put out videos. AI, warp reality to drive customers there. Don't be surprised if we pivot and this becomes a Friday the 13th series / Panakuchen Hoose podcast. I knew what I had before I almost lost it, and I'm certainly not going to let that happen again. I'm on a mission, and I'm not going to stop until there's a Panakuchen Hoose on every corner. Also, it might be pronounced Latouf's. I don't know and I don't care. I'm just here for the Panakuchens. If you like the horror genre as much as we do, you can preview the horror comic book Requiem for a Psychopath right now for free at the Inner Demon Entertainment website. Imagine a world in which horror film slashers are real. Then imagine a troubled teen bringing one out of retirement to help him take revenge on his bullies. It was written by me and drawn by friend of the show, Stephen Yu. Again, that's Requiem for a Psychopath on the Inner Demon Entertainment website. And if you dig it, please either review and rate it 5 stars on Amazon, or don't rate and review it at all. Ratings of less than 5 stars send the algorithm into murder mode for some reason. Thanks. I hope you enjoy it.
It's implied nothing else of note happened during the day because we cut to night and a scene that feels more phantasmagoric than any of the dream sequences. Several small logs blaze away in the center of an enormous bed of coals. Over said coals, a narrow triangular walkway has been constructed between 3 wooden columns. As part of yet another carefully staged long crane shot, a penitype positions a wooden gangplank to bridge the coals. Matthew and Ryan are each given a quarterstaff, then they and Reverend Grange ascend to the walkway. Once again, the production value is top-notch, and once again, everything that happens leaves me asking, wait, what? There's no moment between the previous shot and this one in which Ryan learns what he has to do, much less a moment in which he tries to wriggle out of it. There's no discussion with Mickey about just making a break for it. There's no indication Ryan was forcibly detained. There's no threat made that something will happen to Mickey if he just takes a knee. On the one hand, it was a smart decision to skip over any number of questions the writers weren't prepared to answer. On the other hand, cutting directly to this moment omits a golden opportunity to build suspense. On the third hand, we're still going to get exposition we never needed that is now way too little too late when Mickey, standing ringside to this flaming spectacle, asks Sarah Good,
What's happening? What are they trying to do?
Sorry, I love this woman, Sarah Good.
There's so much Sarah Good coming up. I knew you'd be thrilled. I tried to write as much script as I could about her.
Now there's a truck backing up and clanging. Oh, it's the recycling. Okay, love it.
He's right behind the dump truck. And now the compost truck. What the hell?
The yard waste. Okay.
E-waste recycling. Old medication collection.
This is quite a busy street that I'm on.
I'm actually impressed your recordings are typically as clean as they are.
It's probably just because the microphone's just not that great. It'll pick me up, but it won't pick up the ambient noise. I feel like that happens a lot, though, when I listen to podcast recordings and things. They'll be like, oh, apologies if you can hear X, Y, and Z, and I never can.
There's one that friend of the show, TV's Matt, and I listened to, where the guys actually talk about how they bought a really professional mic, but they don't have the money to properly soundproof their garage or whatever they record in. So the mic is too sensitive and picks up too much ambient stuff, so they actually record with their amateur mics.
If this really takes off, maybe I'll invest in a proper mic, but for now it's just a generic Acer laptop microphone that's 10 years old at this point.
And I will keep speaking directly into my Mac laptop.
Okay, so we pick up with Sarah Good.
Pick up right where we want to be.
I love her. And Sarah Good's response? Priceless.
They will fight. The loser falls into the coals.
No commentary here, I just had to share that. Hang on, is it possible Ryan also doesn't know what's about to happen? No, he must, because he casually informs Reverend Grange,
Look, Josiah, somebody's gonna get hurt here.
It's an anticlimactic line and delivery following Mickey's impassioned lamentation to Sarah Good that Ryan is going to burn alive. Reverend Grange isn't having it, as he's finally gone full tent revival, raving about the cleansing that will result, I guess, if Matthew wins. But what happens if Ryan wins? It's almost like your zealotry has a loophole. On a practical level, I can't imagine what this scene was like for the actors. Everyone on the periphery was probably pleased as punch to be standing so near the blazing equilateral triangle of doom. And actors John D. LeMay, Scott Paulin, and Diego Matamoros, perched directly over the coals, were probably very cozy from about the waist up, while the soles of their boots melted to their feet. That's a good point. The fact they staged this battle at all is kind of wild, so I'm not going to nitpick the choreography and editing. It's a little choppy, but honestly, I've seen plenty of shaky cam fights in our post-Bourne Identity world that are more difficult to follow. They shot enough coverage you get the gist, but unfortunately, not enough to create dramatic peaks or any variety to the action. Por ejemplo, blink and you'll miss it, but at one point, Ryan the Lion falls prone and narrowly avoids tumbling off the beam into the fire. At least, I'm headcanoning that he nearly met his end, because the fall happens in a wide shot, and his landing is blocked from view by a penitite who steps between him and the camera at the exact wrong moment, and no, I don't think it was done with intent. We then cut to Reverend Grange watching and pacing, instead of tighter shots on Ryan that would have let us see him catching himself at the last second, and maybe the expression of fear on his face. We are tighter on him and Matthew when Ryan gets back to his feet and even scores a hit, but dramatically speaking, it's the music, not the visuals, that are doing the heavy lifting. Could I do better with the time and money this crew were probably given? I doubt it. But there is a mistake you make time and time again, Friday, that I like to think I would have had the good sense to avoid on my first at-bat. Why, oh why do you insist on dressing your characters in dark colors, frequently black, during your night scenes? Radical candor? You don't have the time and budget to backlight your cast properly, so they stand out against black backgrounds. You barely have the resources for a hair light to prevent Ryan's carefully coiffed chestnut follicles from being lost to the void. So whose dim idea was it to dress the actor who's either number 1 or 2 on your call sheet almost from head to toe in dark colors? With Matthew, your hands were kind of tied, and you were stuck with penitite black shoes, trousers, and suspenders over a white shirt. I'm not sure black gloves were absolutely necessary, but hey, in for a penny, in for a pound. But Ryan could have been wearing literally anything. How about that fun color-splotched shirt from earlier? Nope. Black gloves, black footwear, a very dark shirt, and black jeans? Black jeans. I'm sorry, but the white long johns we see bridging the gap between his t-shirt and gloves aren't gonna cut it. Was he wearing his Bronco Nagurski long underwear?
Exactly. They frequently will put Ryan in, say, a full-length black trench coat and then have him walking around dark environments, so you just see a floating head. It's really weird.
I guess with everyone else in black, it would have been a choice for sure for Ryan to be so brazen and bold if he were to suddenly say, you know what, screw this modesty crap, I'm just going to go back to my own style. That would have been the real middle finger to the Pennetites.
Well, he's raised every other finger. I mean, might as well bring up the middle one too, Ryan.
That really would have made it feel like a clash of the cultures when they were battling over the fire. There's only a 50% chance of this setup being deadly, depending on which way you fall.
Yes.
On the flip side of this coin, Louise Roby and Helen Karskelen, the actress playing Sarah Good, do a fine job of reacting to the biblical blood sport before them. But right as we go to commercial break, it feels like, again, an opportunity was missed. Matthew lands a series of blows that result in Ryan the Lion falling out of frame. Toward the coals or toward the snow? We don't know. Mickey and Sarah Good are understandably horrified, but not synergistically. By the time we cut to them, Sarah Good already has her hands up over her mouth, her only reaction, whereas Mickey performs an elaborate pantomime that the camera holds onto for too long. Let me try that again. There's no two, I keep wanting to put another word there. Whereas Mickey performs an elaborate pantomime that the camera holds. The word on is like the two letters, and for some reason that's what's throwing me off. I made it through pantomime and synergistically, but
every use of the fictional word penitite.
Right. I had to go back and listen because it sounded like a few times there was some variation in the pronunciation of the word penitite. It sounded like pentonite or pentonite or I don't know. I went back and it all sounded more consistent on a second listen. So I think my ears just made something up.
Yes, pentonite, the only substance that will weaken Superman.
Yes. I think I just need to emphasize the word holds.
Where in the English language does it say you emphasize the holds and holds on for too long?
Whereas Mickey performs an elaborate pantomime that the camera holds on for too long. She looks down, looks up, her hands go up to her head, down in front of her, back up to her head, down to her face. At one point, she might be screaming, but strangely, we don't hear it. The combined effect is that it feels like we're watching a piece of footage lifted from the coverage of them watching the fight, and not a specific take in which they were told to react to Ryan falling. In a perfect world, it would have been nice to see both Mickey and Sarah Good react together, and to have heard Mickey yell, "No!" then immediately cut to black. But we don't live in a perfect world, do we? On the subject of the ladies, I wonder if the Pennetites have a women's division? Maybe if you're married to a fighter who dies? Well, we here at the podcast believe in equal opportunity cleansing. Like the promotional says, tell your bartender to put the TV on women's equilateral triangle fighting. Commercial break.
You have no trouble with the tongue twister of equilateral triangle fighting, but the word on was a bridge too far.
Was holds on. I could not. I wanted to say holds on to instead of holds on. The devil's in the details.
Typically, these episodes are written by a man, and often multiple men. So it's interesting that this episode and the next were written by a lone woman, Janet McLean. Unfortunately, those are the only two episodes of the series she wrote, and she didn't have a prolific writing career. The only title she worked on that I've ever heard of is the 1998 TV series Erie, Indiana, for which she wrote 15 episodes. However, the director, Timothy Bond, directed a whopping 9 episodes of Friday the 13th series, including Episode 2, The Poison Pen, Episode 5, Halloween, Episode 8, Shadow Boxer, the next episode, of course, and then 3 episodes in Season 2, including one he also wrote, and 1 episode in Season 3. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that makes him, hands down, the most fruitful director of this series so far. I bring this all up to confess that, despite all the stylistic flourishes present in this episode, I would never have guessed he directed previous episodes based on visual storytelling alone. Not only that, I always look up the director's filmography for this show, although I try to avoid reading the titles of future episodes, so I can watch them without any foreknowledge. If anything, I would have thought maybe he directed episode 13, The Baron's Bride, which was not only highly stylized, being mostly in black and white, but had the best production value of the show so far. So, what else did this man work on? Well, I'll begin and end with the most interesting. There was the 1986 straight-to-home video film My Pet Monster, based on the eponymous stuffed toy. My Secret Identity, 7 episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, War of the Worlds, The Hitchhiker, Tech War, Tech Lab, that's one project, 2 episodes of the '94 RoboCop series, Touched by an Angel, Sliders, Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, Goosebumps, and 2 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, including Season 3, Episode 9, The Vengeance Factor, and the classic Season 3, Episode 22, The Most Toys, in which a collector of rare items, played by Saul Rubinek, takes the android Lieutenant Commander Data hostage. If you'll excuse me, there is now a 90s property I'm suddenly compelled to rewatch.
We're back, and I don't know what's happening. Ryan isn't on fire, so he's got that going for him. It kind of looks like Matthew previously brought his staff straight down on Ryan's clavicle, and Ryan is using the opportunity to wrest it from Matthew's hands. Bear in mind, we don't see Matthew. If I'm right, this shot would be more or less from Matthew's point of view, a real extreme perspective shot that feels like the director thought he was making a 3D movie. Friday the 13th, Part 3, to be specific. Wait, scratch that. Matthew is smiling to someone off screen, so definitely not fighting to retain his staff. And now Ryan's staff is on fire? Hold on. No, don't hit Matthew in the back while he's distracted. I said, hold on. Okay, flag on the play. The ref just reviewed the footage and it's clear an error was made. That extreme perspective shot wasn't Ryan trying to yank the stick from Matthew's hands. It was a low-angle shot looking up at Ryan, who was using the pole to support his weight and prevent him from falling onto the coals. Honestly, now that I review the shot of him falling just before the break, it's not even definitive that he fell. He could have just as easily taken several rapid steps along the beam. In fact, for practical and safety reasons, that's probably exactly what he did on set. Really, it was just my life's experience with storytelling that led me to the conclusion the most dramatic thing possible is what happens when setting up a cliffhanger. There's no close-up to confirm it, but a switch flips in Ryan and he becomes John Rambo, hitting Matthew while his back is still turned, then continuing to wallop him before he can recover. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if, after finishing Matthew, Ryan leaps into the crowd and begins laying his vengeance upon them. Sorry, I'm just laughing at the next line. Okay.
Laugh away.
No surprises among the ladies' reactions. Mickey is unabashedly gleeful, Sarah Good runs off for clandestine reasons, and Effie is turned on. But Matthew manages to reverse the fight, knocking Ryan down for a second time and disarming him. Ryan once again rallies. They play tug-of-war over Matthew's staff for real this time. Ryan abandons it to retrieve his own stick, and the combination of quickly letting go, then whacking Matthew, is enough to send him flying off the beam onto the snow. Guess you need to make the fire pit a hair bigger next time if you're serious about cleansing. It's fascinating they call back to Ryan's injured arm and have him bleeding through his bone-white sleeve shirt. That's not right. Bone-white shirt sleeve. Okay. And have him bleeding through his bone-white shirt sleeve, as if his wound reopened while he was dueling. John D. LeMay leaves the ring in the most Ryan the Lion way possible, pole vaulting down to land. Mr. LeMay is a very physical actor, and he channels that into demonstrating Ryan's athletic prowess, when not portraying him as a total spaz.
It reminded me of Episode 8, Shadow Boxer, where Ryan the Lion does a diving headfirst vault between the ropes of a boxing ring to enter it.
I do remember that, although the second part of that thought I was reminded of Vanity's Mirror, where he's trying to dodge the mirror and holding up his backpack.
Oh, right. Oh, my heart broke for actor John D. LeMay in that moment. I can't imagine his internal monologue when the director asked him to do that.
Triumphant, but pissed, Ryan marches up to Laura to claim his prize, leaving his cousin Mickey looking rather dejected, which is super weird because they're cousins. I think Mickey, his cousin, actually went to hug him before he chose Laura, his not cousin, and her arms remain in that prepared to hug pose as she watches Ryan and Laura walk off together. I didn't notice that. I'll have to go back.
You could see it if they weren't wearing such dark clothing, Laura.
All the dark clothing is just completely erasing all the brilliant performance choices these actors are making.
And all these wide shots and super wide shots.
So that's really how this works, Penatites? Really? No one died, and he just gets the girl? Not sure what exactly was cleansed. Matthew was ready to murder Ryan for dancing with Laura. Can't imagine he'd back down now just because he lost, but hey, it's your secret society. Sarah Good's machinations are finally revealed as she slips into Effie's room. Okay, why is that damn branch still tapping the window? It's because they shot all this hallway footage back to back and didn't bother tracking what I'm going to call anti-continuity, or maybe pro-tenuity? No, that's awful. go with anti-continuity, meaning there shouldn't be continuity because this happens at a very different time. Sorry, it's really funny.
Thank you.
If the park from the movie Westworld had a Pentatite-themed land, Effie would be playing Yul Brynner's analog, stalking Sarah Good with cold, dead-eyed determination. Having caught up for the second time in 15 minutes, Effie stands near her door, impassively watching someone root through her footlocker. Sarah Good doesn't miss a beat in discovering the false bottom, and given what we know about her, it wouldn't surprise me at all if she uses one herself to hide her grimoire and components for satanic rituals. After calling her out, Effie pushes her door fully open, which casts a little more light on her, but is hardly the dramatic reveal it's meant to be, and comes across as a sad affectation.
It almost felt like a moment from a comedy or a spoof movie to me, making fun of that kind of dramatic reveal.
There's a lot of that. As Effie doesn't kill in person, Sarah Good is allowed to leave and, we can see the hall window both through Effie's open door and the shot in the hall.
That's fine. Take your time.
And the quantity of tree branch tapping on the window doesn't match at all. Bet you wish now you dialed it back, Friday.
It's low-hanging fruit, I know.
No, this is what I love about this show and the podcast, all those little details. It's so much fun. Because again, it's all decisions that people made during filming and editing.
It's fun to watch a show that is a little rough around the edges and where you can play that game. What was going on set when they made that decision?
It's only during this stretch of padding after Effie yells down the hall, then returns to her room, that I realize the tapping branches probably bug me so much because you can hear them too.
Can I just get one more, putting the emphasis on here?
I see. I was reading it like, you can hear them too. Like, of course the audience can hear them. We can all hear the...
Yeah, I assume we can all hear them. You can hear them.
Right. You can hear them too. Okay, that makes more sense.
In July.
The tapping branches probably bug me so much because you can hear them too. Mickey tracks down Sarah Good and promptly blames Laura for Ryan nearly getting killed. I do not like the romantic rival implications of that. And speaking of cat fights, Mickey has nails like a mountain lion. Not sure why she's never put those to work during one of the show's many fight scenes.
That last sentence one more time.
Again, I wanted to put a word on.
Okay.
To put those on to work. Okay. It's those two-letter words that are just killing me. Probably worth a timeout to mention that Sarah Good told Effie she suspects her because of her negative reaction when Reverend Grange chose Rebecca, and her delight at Rebecca's funeral. Of course, now that we've heard that nuanced explanation, all she tells Mickey is that she's known Effie her whole life and that she suspects her. It's enough to satisfy Mickey, so I guess it's enough to placate us on Mickey's behalf. I always wonder in these type of scenarios where you have a bottle mystery, if you will, where it's like they kind of know it has to be somebody in the community. And every time different people are brought up as potential suspects, someone will always say, oh no, it can't be them, or I've known them and they're not capable. And I always want to ask, who would you suspect? Like of the people that you've known your entire life,
right?
All of whom you would say could never do something like this. Because you know it has to be somebody.
The fact that in this case it's a closed community and Sarah Good has known all these people all her life.
Exactly. That's my point, though, is it's like every time they bring up a suspect, nobody has ever said, actually, you know what? I think that friend of mine could kill somebody.
Sarah Good is the exception that proves the rule in every scenario. Sarah Good sees a baby born and points to it and yells, evil.
She so does.
She calls him like she sees him. Kate Trotter, who plays Effie, is not only still acting as far as I can tell, but we're going to see her 3 more times in Friday the 13th, the series, as she not only appears in the next episode, but one in Season 2 and another in Season 3. She was also in Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Tech War, Kung Fu, The Legend Continues, Monk, The Newsroom, and at least 5 shows with fellow cast member Diego Matamoros, Street Legal, Due South, La Femme Nikita, PSI, Factor Chronicles of the Paranormal, and Traitors, although sadly, they don't appear in any of the same episodes. Speaking of Senor Matamoros, who plays eternally bellicose Matthew, he's also still acting, it would seem, but I'm afraid this episode of Friday and the next are the only 2 he worked on. However, in addition to those titles I already rambled off, he appeared in FX the Series, 4 episodes of Goosebumps, Kim's Convenience, Law & Order Toronto Criminal Intent, and he voiced William Birkin in Resident Evil 2, but he did so as Diego Matamoros, with an E replacing the final O. That makes 3 versions of his last name to date, which begs the question, exactly how many bookies did this man owe? Well, Laura crushed it again. Also, I was there. Join us next time for the thrilling conclusion to... Nope, scratch that. This storyline is a 2-parter, so next episode of the podcast will conclude nothing. But it's the thrilling non-conclusion to our first 2-part storyline, so that's kinda cool, right? Plus, we'll make stupid predictions for our prognostication segment, Crystal Ball, and we'll continue to explore the work histories of the cast, including actress Helen Karskelen, who plays Sarah Good. Just a guess, but I think Laura will have thoughts to share. So join us next... Nope, we just covered this. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening, everyone. We know you have a lot of options when choosing a Friday the 13th the Series podcast, and we sincerely thank you for choosing ours. Special thanks to Joshua Romeo for original music and to Stephen Yu for original art. And be sure to check out the Joe on Joe podcast, the only podcast where Joe Slepsky discusses G.I. Joe. If you want to support our show, you can leave a review and rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. If you want an occasional update on our projects, you can sign up for our newsletter at the Inner Demon Entertainment website. And if you want to complain about social media with us on social media, you can find links on our website. And always remember what Carl said to Frylock. It don't matter. None of this matters. Good night, everybody.